I wish I had written about my days working in catering, but that's a book in and of itself. So offbeat, salty, scholastic. Like most kids, I hated high school. I was enrolled in Greenwich, Connecticut, a bizarre land full of Stepford wives where teenagers are given a foreign sedan for their 16th birthday. And upon exiting the womb, the boys all suddenly know how to play lacrosse, and the girls miraculously understand the rules of field hockey. Full disclosure, I played water polo for a few years. But I will still argue that it is one of the most brutal sports this side of Gaelic hurling. If the risk of drowning wasn't enough, we'd grow out our toenails like velociraptors so we could cut the other team beneath the surface. Hockey has blood on the ice, but water polo has blood in the water. And you're wearing a Speedo. But I digress, because I was the punk rock kid in a leather jacket with spiked hair that resembled a box of Crayolas, performed Shakespeare and was shunned by all of the skater kids who also had trust funds. Me? My family was poor in comparison. We weren't too hard up to keep the lights on, but I didn't shop at thrift stores because it was hip. It was the only option. And that said, I did have some fascinating teachers in high school. Mr. Cohn taught English. He also taught theater and directed all of our Shakespeare plays, which we did once a year. And when I candidly told him that I thought Catcher in the Rye was a shitty book, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I'm glad to hear that. It's a stupid book for stupid people. But the state forces me to teach it." Ms. Sutton taught history, and one day in class she blurted out that she had a dream about me the night before. And when I asked what it was about in front of the other students, she turned bright red, covered her mouth to shield her laughter, and said, "We'll talk about it after you graduate." Mr. Batchelor also made history interesting, given that for every state-issued textbook chapter we had to read, he forced us to read a complimentary chapter from Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. He read 8 newspapers during his lunch break every day. And when I saw him reading that wasted roll of toilet paper that is the New York Post, I asked, "Why are you reading that trash?" "It's a shitty newspaper," he replied. "But their headlines are remarkable haiku." He also used to call me Mr. Kunstler, which never made sense to me until I researched Mr. Kunstler. I earned the moniker because I'd always wear my Kim Gordon sunglasses perked back on my head during his class. And little did Mr. Batchelor know that I'd later go to college with Kunstler's daughter. And to this day, I remain amazed that such a beautiful woman could have swam out of his balls. Yet I remain unsurprised that she never gave me the time of day. But I'm here to speak of another English teacher, Mr. Zorega, a beautiful if meandering soul. White-haired, jovial, and didn't actually care if we did our homework. He just wanted to talk to us. I mean, fuck Dead Poets Society. This man had to go on a tear despite his love for the brevity of Hemingway. So I nodded off in class one morning, much like every teenager who was forced into a fluorescent lit classroom at 8 a.m. The whole class was out cold with their heads on desks, but I snapped to attention when my horny teenage brain heard the word vagina. Now he's sitting behind his desk and he's gnashing his fingers together like an industrial tool that crushes cars in a scrapyard, while saying, "So my CO back in Nam used to tell us the hookers all had teeth and razor blades in their pussies." Frantically, I'm looking around the room to see if anyone else is awake to hear this. I'm the only one awake. And I can't tell if he said it to try to wake us up or if this is just something he needs to get off his chest. But for all I know, this is a story he tells at the bar every night. But he did ask me and a classmate to perform a scene from a short play because he knew we were in the theater program, The Lover by Harold Pinter. Now, I love Pinter for a multitude of reasons. Much like David Mamet, he teaches you that punctuation is key. Shakespeare did the same. And there's also a huge difference when Pinter writes pause as opposed to silence, which gives you as an actor chances to act without speaking. Plus, Pinter constantly proved that one of two characters could change the past by speaking in the contrary. That didn't happen. Silence is the easiest way to sum up Harold Pinter. But The Lover is a story about a couple. The husband is aware that his wife has a lover, which they discuss openly, and he admits that he's been seeing a whore. Turns out it's just role play, and they like to fuck under a table. Now here's Zorega's rub. I had a huge crush on the girl with whom I performed this scene. Outside of our work together in Cymbeline, I'd never kissed her. Yeah, we went to prom together, but I was sober at the time and she was drunk that night, so I slept alone. But I banged on her like a gypsy on a tambourine when we re-met at our 5-year high school reunion in my parents' basement, which my brother walked in on. What a jerk. And again at our 10-year, I wound up renting us a room at the Hyatt, and quite sure the late-night concierge thought I was a dirty musician taking a whore upstairs. She now has a very nice husband and child. They live in Los Angeles, and she's produced a couple of very successful TV shows. And when her mother isn't taking walks on the beach with my mother, her mother and I share photos of paintings we're working on. I'm happy for my lover. Just weren't meant to be. But I have to wonder if my English teacher, Mr. Vagina Dentada Zorega, was trying to push us together because he saw a connection. Not everyone teaches from a book. Some just nudge you to understand it. And it's up to you to connect the dots and color outside the lines. And it's up to you to choose where the lines are.